Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to spot massive business inflection points long before they actually happen. If you've ever wondered how the most successful organizations navigate disruptive change without crashing and burning, well, you are in the right place. We're tapping into the brilliant strategic insights of Rita McGrath from her book, Seeing Around Corners, and we're going to build a mental framework that literally transforms uncertain futures into predictable, actionable steps.
Okay, let's dive into this by asking a kind of counterintuitive question. Why do companies that obsess over facts and hard numbers still get completely blindsided by disruptions? We see it all the time, right? Blockbuster, Kodak, Nokia. Now, these definitely weren't companies lacking in data or smart executives, and yet they missed the biggest shifts in their industries. So how does that happen? Well, as we're going to see, the very data these companies rely on to run their daily operations is precisely what blinds them to the massive inflection points lurking just over the horizon. To arm you against the next industry shakeup, here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the lagging indicator trap, the 3 types of indicators, the balance between data strength and freedom, finding your optimum warning window, and finally, creating time zero scenarios.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the lagging indicator trap. We need to uncover why a relentless focus on facts is actually a massive vulnerability for business leaders.
Think about driving a car on the highway. If you can clearly see an obstacle a whole mile down the road, what do? You just make a tiny, almost effortless nudge of the steering wheel and you easily bypass the danger. But if you're driving in the fog, only staring at your dashboard, and you wait until that same obstacle is right on your front bumper, you have to violently jerk the wheel just to survive. Your business is exactly the same. The earlier you spot an inflection point, the easier it is to adjust. If you wait until the disruption is a verifiable fact staring you right in the face, you are in for an incredibly painful swerve.
Moving right along to Section 2, 3 types of indicators. If we actually want to see that obstacle from a mile away, we need to know what we're looking at.
In business, we basically have 3 types of indicators. First up, lagging indicators. These are your past facts, things like profits, EBITDA, or return on investment. By the time you get these numbers, the events that caused them are already history. Second, we have current indicators. These tell you what is happening right this second, like real-time sensor data. Great for optimization, sure, but terrible for prediction. Finally, we have leading indicators. These represent things that aren't quite facts yet. They're qualitative suppositions, murmurs, and early warnings that live on the very edges of your organization. To spot a disruption early, you have to shift your focus away from the comfortable facts of lagging indicators and embrace the messy, qualitative world of leading indicators. And this beautifully illustrates that shift in action. When Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, he realized the company was totally stuck obsessing over lagging indicators, like Windows-driven profits. So what did he do? He completely shifted the corporate mindset. He said, what are the leading indicators of success? Customer love. He knew that if he focused the entire organization on the leading indicator of customer engagement, the lagging indicators, like revenue, would naturally follow. That shift is absolutely what helped Microsoft aggressively pivot to the cloud before it was too late. All right, Section 3, data strength versus freedom. The crucial point here is understanding the dangerous trade-off between the quality of our data and our actual ability to do something about it. Just picture how information surrounding an inflection point develops over time. Early on, the signal strength is incredibly weak. It's basically just noise and everyone disagrees on what it means. But as time goes on, the information gathers steam. It climbs rapidly until the shift becomes completely obvious and undeniable. At a future moment we call time zero. At time zero, the new reality is a hard fact. Digitalization is mainstream, or renewables are dominating energy. You get the idea. But here is the tragic paradox of strategy. Let's look at your degrees of freedom, meaning your ability to actually maneuver and change your strategy. Notice the inverse relationship here. When the signal is weak and uncertain, your freedom to act is incredibly high. You can experiment and place small bets. But by the time you reach time zero and your signal strength is at 100%, your strategic degrees of freedom completely plummet. Because when the facts are perfectly clear to you, they're also perfectly clear to your competitors. It's too late to take the lead. Which brings us to Section 4, finding the optimum warning. Timing is literally everything. So how do we solve this paradox?
You have to target the intersection right in the middle. You can't act too early when it's just noise, because you'd just be throwing money away on a wild guess. But you absolutely cannot wait until it's an undeniable fact and you have zero freedom left. You must build an intelligence system to hit this sweet spot, the period of optimum warning. The signal is just strong enough to be credible, and you still have enough freedom to make major strategic moves before the rest of the industry catches on.
Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5, Creating Time Zero Scenarios. We're going to learn a highly practical technique to force our teams to reverse engineer the future.
We do this by defining a time zero scenario. Think of time zero not as some vague industry trend, but as a crisp, highly specific event in the future. It's the exact moment when the entire game has officially changed. Defining this forces your team to stop thinking about incremental updates and start imagining completely overturned realities.
Let me give you a concrete example from an established energy company. Today, their current reality might be that a centralized fossil fuel grid dominates the market, but they might imagine a time zero event where exactly 2/3 of all global energy investment is suddenly flowing into solar and wind technology. That is a crisp, specific future reality that would completely upend their business model.
Now, instead of trying to forecast forward from today, which, let's face it, is notoriously difficult, we use a technique called backcasting. We place our defined time zero on the far side of a timeline and work backward. We ask ourselves, if this time zero event is definitely going to happen, what leading indicators absolutely must be true 6 months prior? And what must be true 12 months prior? We are essentially reverse engineering the inflection point.
So, a year out from time zero, the weak signals will start showing up. You might notice subtle shifts in capital budget requests as companies quietly reallocate funds. You might see early signs of grid parity. Or maybe you see new legal frameworks being debated by regulators. These are your early warning signals.
Fast forward to 6 months prior, and those signals get significantly stronger. They move from internal debates to hard market realities. You'd start seeing battery prices plunge. You'd see sudden, undeniable shifts in the industry's equipment order pipelines. If you wait until this 6-month mark to start paying attention, your window of optimum warning is closing incredibly fast. To make this system actually work in the real world, you need operational discipline. First, you have to assign a specific person in your organization to watch the horizon for these exact indicators. Second, aggressively track and discuss them at regular management meetings. Literally give them as much weight as your quarterly revenue. And third, continuously adjust your scenarios as new facts emerge. You're building a radar system that cuts right through the noise.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought from the legendary Andy Grove. Snow always melts from the edges first. The changes that are going to disrupt your business aren't happening in the boardroom. They are happening out on the periphery. So ask yourself, what exactly does a catastrophic or highly lucrative time zero look like for your business? And more importantly, who in your ranks is watching the clock right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and start looking for those weak signals today.